I reached the level of being the number one basketball coach alive. Although not athletic enough to be a college player, also too weak during high school to be a good high school player, and not really enough of a bold personality to be a coach in the NBA or in the NCAA. Only an assistant coach. But it just so happens that I was the number one coach in terms of my knowledge. I could beat any coach, NBA or NCAA, if the players would follow my instructions, because my instructions were the best. That's not the only thing that makes the coach to have the best instructions on individual player skills and team player skills. But I could coach the individual player, and I could also coach the team with the best instructions. The best. Well, who could have imagined that somebody could tell Michael Jordan or who could tell Michael Jordan how to play basketball? Well, I learned how to play basketball from watching Michael Jordan. And then what I would tell him is, make sure you can do with your left hand what you can do with your right hand. And I could formalize the description of his basketball skills into a formal curriculum that anybody can learn, and maybe even improve Michael Jordan's form too. So the thing that I learned from Michael Jordan was how to make the ball stick to your hand without bringing your hand under the southern hemisphere of the basketball. If your hand crosses the equator, if the center point of your hand, let's say the center of mass of your hand goes under the equator of the basketball, you're carrying the basketball. You got to stop dribbling. So you can't get your hand, the center point of your palm cannot go under the equator of the basketball. So you got to push the basketball down hard to make it bounce back with enough force that it sticks in your hand. And you got to have the timing, and you got to have it pull it back down to you so that it's sticking against you, not just sticking up against your palm, but sticking backwards against you. You got to pull it down, pull it, so you're kind of going in a circular cycle. You got to have a lot of upper body strength. So you got to basically, you want to have good basketball handling skills, you should be able to do 50 push-ups continuously. And I was almost to that point. And then I got injured. I would have easily gotten to that point. I would have been like at the level of the strength of an NBA point guard, a weak one, if I had been left without an injury. But I wouldn't have had a strong enough personality anyway to be a pro player. Nevertheless, and my body would be fragile and likely to suffer fatigue and drop out without enduring as long as a pro player would be expected to endure. I just never was a very strong person, never had very good endurance. But I should be able to run a 10-kilometer now, and I can't because of an injury. So I'm the best coach in basketball, and I can describe the basic skills and the footwork and basically raising the expectation that a basketball player who's a pro should be able to do a lot more than they typically can do with their offhand. They have their one hand that they drive with and handle the ball with one hand, and they approach the basket from that side usually. But if they can't do it on the opposite side, then they are not the best they can be. So you got to be like Michael Jordan, or in terms of your ball handling skills, Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. But you got to be able to do with your left hand exactly what you can do with your right hand. So you have to be like, take Michael Jordan, and now not asymmetrical Michael Jordan, bilateral symmetry Michael Jordan. You have to be able to do with your left hand what Michael Jordan can do with his right hand. You got to be able to do that with both hands. That means you jump off your right foot when you're shooting with your left hand and you're approaching the left side of the basket. So that's a lot more work to double, to first of all get the skills on one side. Your right hand is, if most people are right-handed, to get the skills on your right-handed side to up to that level, and then to get the skills on your left-handed side and to change your footwork to be the opposite. So being able to switch up your footwork to a left-handed driver, or switch up or return to the default setting, which is your right-handed driver, you got to switch up your footwork. You can't use the same footwork when you're driving with the opposite hand. So it's a lot more work, okay? And it's like learning to be a baseball pitcher. You know, you learn how to throw a baseball with just one side of your body. And you can throw a baseball very fast if you've been practicing and you've got a good physique and you practice a lot and you've got a strong body and good shoulders and good pelvis and legs. And then you can really throw a good baseball pitch with a high velocity. But can you do that with your left hand? If you're throwing right-handed, you're like a baseball pitcher and you do the wind up and you stand up on one leg and then you lift that knee real high and then you step forward and kind of do a knee bend, lunging onto your knee, your forward knee, and you're flinging that ball. So anyway, can you do that with the opposite side? Can you do that on both sides of your body? You got to be able to do that with both sides of your body to be. So that's what it's about. That is a higher expectation than anybody puts on any professional player. They don't do that. So there's basically room to improve a lot because everybody's a one-handed player. They got one hand that they develop and the other hand they do not develop. But if you develop that other hand, it gives you a stronger ability in crossover ball handling, moving to one side and the other. And then, all right, so then what's the team advantage? I learned that from Jordan and Pippen. And so I guess Phil Jackson gets some credit. The coach, Phil Jackson. Well, they could cross the court without the ball touching the court. They could touch pass to each other in a reciprocal passing, a series of reciprocal passing instead of dribbling. And that's the team player. The team play is that you tell your team, don't dribble the basketball, never let the basketball touch the court. And this is going to be your default practice mode. And when you're allowed to dribble, that's being at ease. But when you're practicing, you're not going to be at ease. You're not allowed to touch the basketball to the court. It's a turnover if the basketball touches the court. You can't dribble at all. And so practice that and then learn the team play, off the ball movement and reciprocal passing. Throwing it back to the guy who just threw it to you is like dribbling. So you throw two guys like Pippen and Jordan passing the ball to each other, reciprocal passing. That's the team play. The other thing is, I don't know when the 24-second clock was introduced, but in the soccer game, you want to have a longer possession. And it's the same thing in basketball. You go for a longer possession, and then I've got one more slogan. You want to have longer possessions before you shoot the basketball because it costs more metabolic energy to play defense versus offense. So you want the other team to be on defense most of the time. So you want to try to use as much of the 24-second clock as you can. Wait until about 20 seconds before you shoot the ball. And then throw the whole bench at them every game. What that means is use the whole metabolic capacity of your entire team. Substitute your players out as frequently as you can and tell everybody to push hard, and then take them out when they get tired. Don't leave anybody in there too long. Bring them out of the game when they have expended themselves, tell them to expend themselves quickly, and then you'll bring them out quickly and throw the whole bench in every game, and to metabolically fatigue your opposition. And try to be on offense most of the time, because it costs more energy. It costs more metabolic energy to be on defense than it does to be on offense. So these are the tactics of how to win. And so I attained the level of being the best coach, better than any NBA coach. Just not the full package as a coach, not having a strong enough personality, not having a strong enough personality to be the NBA coach. Maybe not, probably not. Not having a strong enough body to be a pro player nor an NCAA player. Not being, I never started eating meat until it was too late to be a good athlete. So, but I would not have been a very good athlete, even if I had enough. If I had been eating chicken since the beginning, I would have been a lot stronger. I could have dunked the basketball with two hands, but I still would have been frail and not as resistant to fatigue as I should be. But nevertheless, the most knowledgeable coach in basketball. And what do I have to say to the best, maybe the first round draft pick, Olivier Rioux, 7'9". Well, what stopped me was an injury, and that injury was so bad that it made me hate the game of basketball. A bad ankle injury. So what would I have to say to someone who's 7'9"? I'd say the game's not worth it, and the money's not worth it. And your mobility is worth more than whatever the NBA can ever pay you. And what the problem is in these professional sports league, they overpay the athletes, and the athletes are greedy, and they injure each other. And the injuries, well, all I can say to Olivier Rioux is ask that 7'4" guy from the Portland Trail Blazers who almost won versus the Lakers. Portland Trail Blazers with Detlef Schrempf and a real big guy, 7'4", 7'3", European. And ask that European, and ask what's his name, the family members, or ask Rick Smits or his family members, 7'4". Ask the largest, some of the largest players. Was the injuries worth the pay? The injuries that you suffered and the mobility, the loss of mobility, was it worth the pay? The paycheck from the NBA, I don't know. And I would just say that because if you lose your mobility, and you could also ask, I would say this to Olivier Rioux, you could also ask Yao Ming, was it worth suffering the injuries, or do you wish you had stayed in China? Did you think you might have had a better life if you had stayed in China? Was the NBA worth it to you? And see, the thing is, the sports injuries on a 7 foot tall or taller man, the taller they are, the sports injuries are much worse. So when you're young, you might feel okay, but ask Yao Ming, ask Rick Smits if he's alive, ask various men over 7 foot tall if their sports-related injuries and their experience with the NBA is worth it, or was it worth it, the injuries. I got injured so bad at just playing basketball as an amateur that I hate the game now. I hate it. And I would wish I had never played basketball. I hate the game, and I wish I had never played it, because that injury, I should be able to run 10 kilometers. I can hardly walk a mile without leaning on something. I lean on a bicycle with a high steering bar to lean on, like a crutch. All right, that's all for this video.